Good evening. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Campbell City Council for Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026. And we'll start with roll call, please.
Councilmember Lopez.
Here.
Councilmember Hines.
Present.
Councilmember Bybee.
Present.
Vice Mayor Scazola.
Here.
Mayor Furtado.
Here. I would like to now move to the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'd like to invite Leslie Fabila from our Public Works Department to lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure on behalf of the City Council to recognize Leslie Fabila, a longtime city employee who was recently appointed as Executive Assistant to the Director of Public Works and Department of Engineering. Leslie, as I mentioned, has been with the city for a long time. She has worked in the City Manager's office, in our Recreation and Community Services office. She's worked in the Finance Department. And now for some time, she's been working in Public Works. And she's, I think, always the first person on duty in the entire city in the morning. And she always has a smile on her face and is willing to greet everyone. But besides that, her work is exceptionally efficient, does a very nice job for the city. And it's our pleasure on your promotion to recognize you and to thank you for what you do for us. I'd like to present this little certificate sort of as a memento of leading the pledge for us.
Very nice. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I don't know if you would like to take a picture here. So. Thank you. Thanks, Leslie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Congratulations. We have no special presentations and proclamations. We have no communications or petitions. And so we now come to the point in the agenda under oral requests. This would be the time for anyone in the audience or anyone online to address the council on any item not on tonight's agenda. So I do have some requests. And just check here. So I'd like to first invite Chris Giangreco to speak to us. There you go.
Okay, I'd like to talk to you folks about something that I witnessed at the Garrett last night. I was eating pizza with a family member when another family came in. There was a gentleman at the bar that was drinking or whatever was going on. And the couple that sat next to me, it was a mother with a 18-year-old, 19-year-old son. They came in to have dinner, and the one gentleman was leering, for lack of a better way of putting it, leering at this young lady. She was quite attractive, I've got to admit that, but there was leering going on to the degree that the object of this man's attention basically said in front of the whole bar, hey, knock it off, stop it. And it kind of stopped, but it did continue. And it wound up being kind of a running joke after the bar. And after this gentleman left, another bar patron came up and showed a photo of what certainly appeared to be your vice mayor. Okay, and I'm not laying accusations directly on him, but this photo appeared to be your vice mayor doing this. So this raises the question, what's acceptable behavior to the city council of your council members as a public elected official? This was not a good scene, and I witnessed the whole thing, and I tried to persuade the object of that person's attention to come, and, you know, so I'll leave it in your hands to figure out, was this the actions of your vice mayor? What are you going to do about it? This type of behavior should not happen in your most popular pizza parlor just this close to downtown. So, you know, I felt it was my civic obligation to let you guys know what went on, and there you have it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Grant. I'd now like to invite Laura Reese to speak to us.
Hi, thanks for having me. I live at 1159 Futrell Drive, and I'm here. This morning, Mountain View took down their flock cameras because they discovered that federal agencies had accessed their data when they thought they had blocked the federal agencies. A Texas sheriff searched the footage of 83,000 flock cameras to track a woman seeking an abortion. A flock camera was found to be live streaming children at a playground. And this weekend, I searched the flock audit database for Campbell searches and discovered out of 13,000 searches, roughly half had no justification. This raises questions about probable cause, whether it was established, and red flags about whether our Fourth Amendment constitutional protection against unreasonable search was violated. Flock cameras, vulnerabilities are many. Our privacy, when they are operational, is compromised. I ask the City Council, if you haven't already, shut down any flock cameras we have, bring all the data from the cloud to self-hosted private databases, purge data that's older than 30 days per our policy on the website, and establish a technology oversight committee that evaluates technology for constitutional compliance before deployment, not after. Say what you will about the federal government, but I personally have lost confidence in their willingness and ability to protect our constitutional rights. So now it's on us. Campbell has an opportunity to show how a community can come together and protect constitutional rights with the same fierce dedication we apply to public safety. We could be this shining city on the hill, shining a beacon for safety and freedom. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reese. Where's Chief is here? I will ask you to make a comment.
Okay. I'll sit down.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate the opportunity. Obviously, we've seen a lot in the news recently, and concerns related to Flock have been happening throughout the country, and we have been a customer of Flock for a number of years. I guess my brief comments will say that as we became aware of some of the other concerns throughout the country, we conducted several audits of our own system, confirmed that none of our sharing options are on. So we are not sharing outside the state of California, which is prohibited by law. We are not sharing with any federal agencies, which is prohibited by law. And according to California Senate Bill 54, we're not allowed to participate in any immigration enforcement activities, which we are not doing. In regards to Flock itself, as the council is most likely remembers, we are in the process of getting rid of the contract. We've already eliminated one of our contracts with Flock, and we are moving to our own database public safety camera system outside of the Flock network. We see huge benefits to public safety when it comes to ALPR data. But as the speaker noted, that requires oversight, appropriate policies, and usage. And I can tell the council that based on our policies and our oversight, I feel very confident in the ways that our ALPR data is being used. But we will continue moving away from flock and capturing those hits within our own system so that we have complete control over that data.
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate those comments. I would now like to invite Susan Landry to speak to us.
Good evening, Council and Honorable Mayor. I'm here to tell you about my game board launch party on Saturday. You guys are all invited to come. It's a 10-year journey I've been on. I took a hiatus while I was on council and spent this last year getting to production. I want to sell the first box in downtown Campbell, which will be this Saturday at 3 o'clock. Please come. The chamber is going to do a ribbon cutting, and I hope our mayor will still be coming, and hope everybody else. And then at 4 o'clock, we're going to cross the street to Campbell, the coffee roasting to actually play. So I'm just here to invite everybody, and thank you guys.
Thank you, Susan. I might ask the city clerk if we have anyone else online that would want to address us. Does anyone else in the audience wish to address the council on any item not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll close the oral requests and move on to item number 6, council announcements. I do have several announcements. If you'll bear with me. This year marks the 100th anniversary of Black History Month. The 2026 national theme, quote, "A Century of Black History Commemorations," quote, honors a century of recognizing the profound contributions of Black Americans and the contributions they've made to our nation. Through leadership, creativity, storytelling, and collective care, Black communities have shaped our culture, strengthened our democracy, and inspired generations. This centennial year is an opportunity to reflect, learn, honor, and contribute, and continue that commitment to enrich our city and our country. The second announcement is that for 134 years, Campbell Heritage and Early Settlers Day have been cherished as a special commemoration here in the city of Campbell. Our tradition is now that we are recognized as the longest running public celebration in the state of California. The event for us on President's Day honors Campbell history and its early pioneers. The 2026 celebration will take place at the Orchard City Banquet Hall on Monday, February 16th from 11 to 2. Our guest speaker will be Carrie Perkins, who is the supervisor of the Campbell Historical Museum, and she'll share some historic stories about Campbell's Water Tower. The Water Tower mascot, quote, "The Dude," will make a special appearance at this event. And for more information, please visit the Campbell Chamber of Commerce website, which is campbellchamber.net. The third announcement is that the Santa Clara County Superior Court is seeking applications for the 26-27 civil grand jury. This independent oversight body plays a vital role in promoting transparency and accountability in local government civil grand jurors matters. And the grand jury does investigate public agencies, reviews resident complaints, and issues reports with recommendations to improve government operations. Those interested can find full details, including the link to an online application if you're so interested, at santaclara.courts.ca.gov/CGJ. You may also contact our own city clerk's office at campbellca.gov for additional information. Applications for the civil grand jury will be accepted through Friday, March 27th. The next announcement is the city is offering grant funding through the Neighborhood Association Assistance Grant Program. It's a program we've had in effect for some time. Campbell neighborhood associations are encouraged to apply, and applications are opened through Monday, February 23rd. So you can visit the city's website at campbellca.gov. The next announcement has to do with the fact that we invite you to discover the Campbell preschool program is a very warm, welcoming, engaging place for young learners. Families are invited to an open house on Saturday, March 7th from 10 in the morning till noon to meet our dedicated teachers, explore the classrooms, and experience nurturing and play-based environment firsthand. Also on March 7th, the Recreation Department will host a summer camp and swim lesson open house. That will be from 11 in the morning until 1 in the afternoon. Stop by to learn about the city's summer camp, meet the instructors, and learn all about how this will occur over the summer. Families can also take advantage of free swim assessments to ensure children are placed in the appropriate swimming level. All activities are free and open to the public. Once again, please contact our Recreation Department, and you could do so online at campbellca.gov/recreation. And finally, the AARP Foundation is offering free income tax assistance through April the 14th in room C34 at the Campbell Community Center. This service allows low to moderate income adults and families 18 years old and older to receive this assistance. Details are available once again on the city's website. So these are the city mayor's announcements for this week. We now move to the consent calendar. These are items 7.1 to 7.9, which the council will take as a single item of business unless a member of the public, a member of the staff, or members of the city council would like to pull an item for individual discussions. Does anyone wish to pull an item?
I'd like to pull 7.6.
7.6. And
It looks like,
I'm sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
I also would like to pull item 7.9 from tonight's consent calendar. So with those two exceptions, may I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll move the consent calendar with the exceptions of 7.6 and 7.9.
I'll second.
We would need a roll call vote, please.
Does this include the desk item?
Yes.
7.1?
Yes, thank you.
Councilmember Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Hines?
Aye.
Councilmember Bybee?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Scazola?
Aye.
Mayor Furtado?
Aye. We'll move right now then to consent calendar item number 7.6, the investment report for the quarter ending December 2025.
I just wanted to make a comment on there that the finance department has just done a tremendous job highlighting and the transparency. This particular one shows the Measure K funds are being collected and are being put into the Measure K tax escrow deposit. I get a number of questions on that. And that which is managed by Campbell. I just wanted to acknowledge that for the constituents to know that that is being collected and where it's being managed, and thank them. With that, I'll move to accept 7.6 investment report quarter ending December 2025.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve item 7.6. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Hines?
Aye.
Councilmember Bybee?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Scazola?
Aye.
Mayor Furtado?
Aye. We now move to item 7.9. This is to accept a donation of $4,000 from the Water Tower Kitchen for the Campbell Recreation Youth Scholarship Fund and to approve the associated budget adjustment. And the reason why I've asked that this be pulled is because I believe the representatives from the Water Tower Kitchen are here and would like to make a presentation. So please come forward. to our microphone.
Do we say something?
If you'd like to.
Thanks for having us. We take a lot of pride in supporting the community. A big part of the community is youth sports, from the kids to the coaches to the parents. We really love giving back and just being a part of Campbell and, helping people and, feeding people too. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for this donation. We appreciate it. And representing our Department of Recreation is here. She will accept the donation on our behalf.
Thanks, guys. You have a certificate for them. Yep. You have a certificate.
Yes, I do. Before you leave. Sorry. It's my fault for not coming down. So we have a certificate of appreciation for your donation. And I want to thank you on behalf of the city, we have the council and our youth programs, which I think are excellent programs. And so it's a well-placed donation.
We're happy to be.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
And I just wanted to thank you as well from my standpoint. Youth sports has been a big part of what I was involved in. So not here in Campbell, but as my kids were growing up. So I really appreciate it. And I also really appreciate that every time it's not televised, you show a Cub game and a Bear game. So thank you.
Mayor, I'd also like to thank you as well. One of the best parts of being in Campbell, living in Campbell, serving for Campbell, are businesses such as yours that really support our community and understand the value of community and working together. So thank you very much.
And likewise, before you head out, I just want to show my appreciation. You love Water Tower Kitchen going down, and even better knowing how much you support the community. Really are part of the fabric. I did youth sports here growing up, and so it's just a great feeling to know the next generation will have that support. So thank you so much.
Thanks very much. May we have a motion to accept item 7.9?
I'll move the staff recommendation to accept the donation. Oh,
Second.
sorry.
Oh.
Did you catch that? Yeah. Okay.
We have a motion to accept and a second to accept the donation of $4,000. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Hines.
Aye.
Councilmember Reagan.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Scazola.
I think the mic's off, but
Vice Mayor Scazola. Mayor Furtado.
Aye. Thank you. So we now move to item number 8, which are public hearings and introduction of ordinances. And we'll move first of all to item 8.1, the introduction of an ordinance amending the Campbell Municipal Code to clarify the timeline of council committee appointments. Is here to make the presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. This is introduction of an ordinance, as the mayor stated, to amend section 2.04050, which would essentially change the mayor's authority to appoint council members to committees from annually to at the beginning of the mayor's term, and then anytime thereafter as deemed necessary by the mayor. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Angelique? Thank you. I might just add myself that the current policy for appointing members of commissions and boards, the council policy allows that to rest with the mayor making the appointments. But there are times, but unfortunately, the current ordinance only allows that to happen once a year at the beginning of the year. And the reality is that sometimes things happen, we have to make a substitute, or someone might be unavailable, and the option is there to appoint another member of the council to represent rather than having to cancel the meeting. So I would hope my colleagues would vote in favor of this and allow this flexibility. Any comments?
No, I think it makes sense.
Would you like to make the motion?
Do we need public comment first?
Oh, yes, you're right. Does any member of the public wish to comment on this particular item? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment hearing and we'll move it back to the council.
I'll make a motion then that the council introduce and hold first reading of an ordinance amending section 2.04.050 of the Campbell Municipal Code to amend when council committee appointments may occur.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Hines.
Aye.
Councilmember Bybee.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Scazola.
Aye.
Mayor Furtado.
Aye. Thank you. The city clerk will read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Campbell amending Chapter 2.04 of the Campbell Municipal Code regarding council committee appointments.
I will move further reading of the ordinance.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to waive further reading of the ordinance. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Hines.
Aye.
Councilmember Bybee.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Scazola.
Aye.
Mayor Furtado.
Aye. Thank you. We now move to item 8.2. This is a public hearing to consider the adoption of an ordinance to extend the interim ordinance number 2326, which was established as an urgency measure to implement a temporary moratorium on the issue of tobacco retailer permits at new city locations or within new city locations in the city of Campbell. And Rob Eastwood, our community development director, will give the staff report.
Mayor Furtado, council members, very quickly, the Campbell does have a tobacco moratorium that was adopted last year. It expires on March 2nd of this year. Effectively presents new smoke shops from being established in the city. Staff is requesting the council consider adoption of this ordinance, which would extend the moratorium for one more year. It'll allow time for staff to research on an acceptable permanent ordinance and allow staff more rebuilding of staff resources to prepare that ordinance. That's my presentation. I do have Senior Planner Stephen Rose online. He and I are available if you have any questions.
Thank you very much. Does any member of the council have questions regarding this extension? I will open the public hearing to allow members of the public to comment on this particular item. Does anyone wish to address the council on item 8.2? So we have no one online? No. We don't. Okay, I'll close the public hearing. And what is the pleasure of the council?
You're doing really well.
Okay. I will move that the city council adopt an ordinance extending interim ordinance number 2326, which established urgency measures to implement a temporary moratorium on the issuance of tobacco retailer permits at new locations in the city.
I will second, and I'll just once again thank staff for the positive recognition this step has already received. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second in favor of adopting item 8.2. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Hines.
Aye.
Councilmember Bybee.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Scazola.
Aye.
Mayor Furtado.
Aye. The city clerk will also read the title of this ordinance.
Okay, being an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Campbell extending urgency measures to implement a temporary moratorium on the issuance of tobacco retailer permits at new locations in the city, file number PLN 2025-12.
I'll move to waive further reading of the ordinance.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to waive further reading. Roll call once again, please.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Hines.
Aye.
Councilmember Bybee.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Scazola.
Aye.
Mayor Furtado.
Aye. Thank you. We now move to new business. And we have two items on tonight's agenda. 9.1, this is the acceptance of the final feasibility study for the Hamilton Avenue State Route 17 bicycle overcrossing. And our Director of Public Works, Amy Olay, will make the presentation. Welcome.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. Let me just try to get my presentation and share with you. Sorry about this. Let me see if I can do the slideshow. That work? Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. Okay, so this item is about the Hamilton Avenue State Route 17 bicycle overcrossing feasibility study. And we will go over the agenda, which is the project background and goals. Before I do that, I do want to introduce that we have John Casciati from HMH Engineers, who is here to present with me. And I want to also acknowledge Matthew Geo, Traffic Engineer, who's here as well. So as part of what we want to share with you is we want to talk about the public engagement process, and then share the design alternatives, evaluation, and the conclusions. And John will cover those parts, and I will come back and talk about the next steps and then the staff recommendation. But before doing that, I do want to talk a little bit about the background and goals. As we all know that with this facility, it is very challenging for pedestrians walking across Hamilton over State Route 17. And there are no bike facilities. And so it makes it really hard as an east-west bicycle network, that kind of connection. And so really with the purpose of the feasibility study, we set out our goals, which is to make sure or to look at possibilities for an actual overcrossing. And with the goals of looking at whether it's feasible, is it constructible, does it address public concerns, would it be acceptable to Caltrans, who owns the right of way over this structure? And then also trying to get an understanding of the cost if we were to build such a facility. And so we were fortunate enough to be able to get a funding grant from Measure B Bicycles and Pedestrian Planning Studies to allow us to start the feasibility study. And with that, we then went through the request for proposal process where we wanted to select a consultant. And with that, we selected HMH Engineers to lead the design. And as part of that team, we also have Biggs Cardoza, a structural firm, and Circle Point, a public engagement firm that helped through this entire process. So with that, I will turn it over to John to walk you through the more details of the designs and the alternatives and how we then came up with the selected alternatives. And I'll come back and walk you through the next steps.
Thank you, Amy, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for your time. So the project is located at State Route 17 in Hamilton Avenue. And one of the things I'll note is Caltrans is the underlying landowner. So everything we do here is going to need to ultimately be approved by Caltrans and follow their process. But we extend from Salmar Avenue to the west to Creekside Way to the east, including crossing multiple highway ramps, State Route 17, and the VTA light rail and UP freight rail that runs along the south side of Hamilton Avenue. The other project location there's a significant east-west movement for bicycles and pedestrians, and what we're trying to do is provide better access for residences that live to the west to access the Creek Trail, the Pruneyard Shopping Center, Hamilton Plaza, and a lot of the destinations. We've seen that State Route 17 can be a major barrier for active transportation users feeling comfortable getting across our city at this major arterial. Some existing conditions of the project site: there are no bicycle facilities within the project footprint. Sidewalks are narrow. They have some undulation on them that can create difficulty. We have observed cyclists that walk or ride their bikes on sidewalks because they feel unsafe on the roadway, which further exacerbates the issues in these very narrow areas. The image on the right is also an outdated approach to on-ramps. This is an uncontrolled crossing. Essentially, the only protection measure for pedestrians is a couple lines of paint on the ground. It can be very stressful and discourage users. So these are some of the existing deficiencies that we're looking to address with the project. So at the beginning of the project, we went out with a blank slate to the community. We did some tabling at the fun run and Valentine's Day. We also launched an online survey where we had over 400 respondents from the community. We saw a pretty good demographic as far as geographic reach, age group, et cetera, and it gave us a lot of confidence that we had a pretty good sampling of the community. We asked on the right, what does a successful project look like to you? As we weigh the various pros and cons, what would you like to see in a project? And overwhelmingly, we heard safety was the #1 priority, not really surprising. Other significant aspects that the community voiced was ease of use and physical separation from vehicles, that ability to feel like there's not a significant stress and fear in using our facilities. On the flip side, scoring low on here was any potential impacts to private property were not particularly important to the community that was surveyed. Similarly, cost and environmental impacts scored lower on the spectrum as the community weighed in on what they would like to see a successful project look like. We also reached out to some of the stakeholders. So we did meet with the City of Campbell's Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, regular updates, as well as a formal presentation in April, and secured their input and guidance on what was proposed here. We also met with VTA. They own the light rail station immediately adjacent to the project area, and they also oversee significant projects through the area. We wanted to make sure we were compatible with ongoing VTA projects and had synergy between our improvements. We met with Caltrans. This is probably the single most important stakeholder for the project, and heard their concerns. Caltrans advocated for grade separated facilities. They like to see bicycles and pedestrians at a separate grade than cars for inherent benefits. It's safer. There's also less impact to traffic operations, but that comes at a cost. Caltrans also voiced concern over future flexibility of their state interstate system. They want to be able to do what they want to do with their land in the future. So we weighed those inputs in the proposed alternatives. And then finally, with the City of San Jose, we engaged the city to ensure if there are any other projects along Hamilton Avenue or Bascom, as we understand, to the north, make sure that we're talking and that our projects are compatible, and also ask for peer review and peer input on the recommended alternatives. Make sure if they've got other ideas that we were missing, we engage that expertise. Evaluation. So for the evaluation, we looked at 6 key areas. User experience. Is it stressful? Are you significantly delayed? Is there a major hill that you have to climb that might discourage a bicycle from wanting to ride up and over or down and under some of these facilities? Impacts to traffic operations. We recognize how congested this interchange is in its existing condition. We wanted to be certain we weren't exacerbating those existing deficiencies. Environmental impacts, visual, there's a significant trees in the area we are considerate of. Design standards, are we consistent with best practices, both at the local and statewide level? Cost, overall cost, maintenance cost, what is the price of these improvements? And then finally, really alignment with what we heard from the community. Are we aligned with what the input from the community was, prioritizing safety, prioritizing physically separated facilities? There's a couple terminologies that I'll use through the remainder of this presentation. I just wanted to introduce bike lanes. I think are pretty conventional. They're on street, not physically separated from vehicles. They can be buffered with a buffer stripe or not. An undercrossing is that central image you see. This is a recent example from a City of San Jose project. That is a bicycle and pedestrian trail crossing under a freeway off-ramp. So when I use the term undercrossing, it would be a physical separated crossing under a freeway facility. And similarly, overcrossing, that image to the right, is an example of a bicycle and pedestrian facility crossing over a freeway facility. So I'll use that terminology through the remainder of the presentation. There were 4 alternatives that were developed in partnership with the city, and I'll talk about each of these in a little bit of detail without trying to get too far into the weeds. The first alternative, named the Southern Route, essentially builds a shared Class 1 facility. This is shared for bicycles and pedestrians, and it sweeps down and south off of Hamilton Avenue and then crosses over both the State Route 17 proper as well as the southbound diagonal on-ramp. And what you'll notice, it avoids the northbound loop on the right side of your screen. And so this alternative of the 3 that are discussed is the only alternative that physically separates all conflicts between bicycles and pedestrians with those on-ramps. In all of the alternatives I'm about to discuss, or 3 of the 4, all of the on-street treatments are the same. So I'll describe those in detail here, and then I'll simply refer back to them in the future. At Salmar Avenue on the west end of the image here, we would have improvements for bicycles and pedestrians, increased signage, increased delineation, and then improved curb ramps and curb alignments to facilitate ingress and egress into a new grade separated facility. The same treatment is proposed at Creekside Way to the east, new green paint, new crosswalks, enhanced curb ramps at Creekside Way. In the westbound direction, in this alternative, we are also proposing adding an on-street facility for bicyclists. There's existing sidewalks on the north side of Hamilton Avenue, but there are not existing bike lanes. And so with this alternative, we can also create space for those cyclists that choose to remain on Hamilton Avenue and may not want to go out of direction. There's an enhanced facility for them there. In this alternative, we've got the profile down in the bottom right corner, but one thing I want to quickly note is the reason that it pulls so far away from Hamilton is because it can cross at roughly the same grade as Hamilton does now. So in this alternative, there's not a big hill for bicycles or pedestrians that have to climb over. It's just about 5 or 6 feet of elevation difference to get over the freeway. The second alternative studied is the Campbell Loop. On-street facilities are exactly the same, but what this alternative would do is have an at-grade crossing on the west side. So this would be an enhanced crossing, but it would be physically on the roadway with paint and an RRFB, a rectangular rapid flashing beacon, or other mechanisms to alert a vehicle to the opportunity of a pedestrian crossing on the left side of your image. There'd be a new structure over State Route 17, disconnected from the existing bridge. So we're building a new structure to create that land for our bicycles and pedestrians without reducing the number of lanes on the bridge. And then in the loop, what you'll see is we actually come down and around underground and cross under the existing northbound loop on-ramp. The reason for that is that allows us to have a grade separated at that high volume crossing. The reason we loop around is because we want to maintain the Americans with Disabilities Act compliance. So along the path, there's a maximum slope that can be achieved, and that loop is used essentially to make it longer to allow us vertically to be able to achieve the necessary grades required. We did also look at whether or not we can get up and over. Unfortunately, because of the light rail structure that's just about a couple hundred feet to the east, if we wanted to go over that ramp, we would also need to go over the LRT structure, which would be a significant impediment to usage, or have a complex switchback structure that can be very cumbersome for cyclists. When you have kind of switchbacks in a narrow footprint, your bikes have to slow down and maneuver hard turns, and then they lose all their momentum, and then they ultimately don't want to use the facility. So there's a lot of reasons that quadrant right there is really narrow and constrained. The third alternative studied looked at trying to minimize that out of direction travel. It would have a new structure over State Route 17, but it would have at-grade crossings on both the existing ramps. So we would upgrade those ramp crossings. It decreases that out of direction travel, but it preserves a lot of conflicts that is a little bit misaligned with the input that we heard from the community. And then finally, we said, what's the absolute minimum we could do to get a shared use facility on the existing bridge? So this is really the minimalist. This is a low cost alternative. This would be reassigning the space on the existing structure by removing sidewalks and moving barriers and creating space on the south side of Hamilton Avenue. But to do that on the existing structure, we would need to remove the sidewalk on the north side of Hamilton, which could be a significant impediment to pedestrian usage. And there's not adequate space for bike lanes in this alternative. So a lot of drawbacks with that low cost option of trying to improve these crossings. We then evaluated all of these across the metrics that you see. So each column on this graphic are the metrics we previously described, and the rows on the left are each of the alternatives, including the no build. A full circle is good, an empty circle is bad. We evaluated these against their peers. Real quickly, the southern route being fully grade separated and having a relatively flat profile was scoring very well for its bicycle and pedestrian accommodations, ease of use, and physical separation, but it is the most costly alternative. Similarly, the Campbell Loop kind of struck a balance there. It did have some physical separation, so it scored well there, but it also retained some at-grade crossings. And again, because of that loop, it had an elongated path of travel that might discourage usage. The straight shot and the minimalist both remained at grade crossings at the ramp, so they generally had a more likely impact to traffic as pedestrians are crossing. They did not address a lot of the conflicts and stress levels and physical separation that were key to the project's success, but they are a lot cheaper, and that can be beneficial for its own reasons, obviously. So, in conclusion, of the four alternatives studied, the southern route really did score. It really did shine as compared to its peers. Again, with our consultation with Caltrans, this was an alignment that they were favorable to because of its fully grade separated facilities. We then went back to the community. We attended the Oktoberfest Fun Run, as well as held a virtual community outreach workshop in November. And we went back to the community and said, this is what we're thinking. This is how we've scored them. And we did hear that we had concurrence with the recommended alternative. The public that was engaged did continue to voice a preference for the fully separated configuration. And they did also demonstrate a preference for, even if it's a slightly longer alignment, the flatter, more comfortable facilities. And so with that, we recommended in the alternative analysis a feasibility study that the southern route be the alternative for a preferred separated facility through this crossing. And Amy, I'll hand it back to you to talk about next steps.
Thank you, John. So with council's approval, acceptance of the feasibility today, we then will be looking at the next steps, which is to initiate the Caltrans development process. That is very time consuming, as you can see. The first step would be project initiation document that we need to go to Caltrans, and then there's the setting of the scope and trying to come up with the schedule and cost and so forth. And that's about a 12-month process. And then that would be followed by the project approval. And then we get into the plans and specs and construction. So this will be it will require a lot of time for us to even move to the construction phase. But I think more importantly is that we need to look at what funding sources we have to enable us to move forward. And so we would be pursuing grant funding to make this happen. And in fact, the next item that we will be sharing with you is putting an application in for the Measure B project grant program to allow us to start the PID, the project initiation document for this project, should council approve the feasibility study. And so the staff recommendation is for city to adopt the resolution accepting the final feasibility study for the Hamilton Avenue State Route 17 bicycle overcrossing. But I do want to note that by doing so, it really allows the project to move forward. And And also because there are other projects that are happening in the vicinity of Hamilton, such as the Hamilton Public Improvement Project, and also we're working on the multimodal transportation plan, that with this feasibility study, it really lends itself for the concept to be integrated into those plans. So this is really the first step for us to consider so that we can move those other projects forward. And one other thing to note is that as part of the Safe Streets for All program, with the acceptance of this and we move forward with the PID, that sort of helps us in when that Safe Streets for All program, a plan is completed, it really leverages those funding opportunities there. So with that, staff is here and we'll be happy to take any questions. There are 3 of us to answer any questions that you may have.
First of all, thank you very much for your presentation, both presentations. They were very thorough and well explained. And I appreciate the fact that you also sought public input prior to making the recommendations before us. So first I'll ask my colleagues if there are questions.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sure. Just one, this is really excellent presentation. Could you say a little bit more about the possibility, if you looked at it, of undercrossings as another grade separate option?
Absolutely. And I'll flip back just through the slides real quick. I'll use this graphic just to help. Mm-hmm. So the challenge with undercrossings, first of all, we don't want to cross under Highway 17, right? It's already depressed below Hamilton Avenue, so inherently we want to cross over the top. But there are opportunities to cross under the other 2 ramps. The southbound diagonal on-ramp on the west, because of its proximity to Salmar Lane, there's not a lot of opportunity to get under it. And so if we wanted to implement a undercrossing on the west side of 17, we'd need to extend down and along the ramp and then cross under it and then come back and get up and over State Route 17. So the compatibility on the west side just doesn't really align with the existing conditions. The loop on the east side does open that opportunity, and that's why the Campbell Loop alternative did have an undercrossing in that quadrant. But again, because of the ability to get down and up, we had to have a loop in there because we could not get over State Route 17 and under the loop on-ramp without adding some extra length. And one nuance of this is we would have a convenience stair so that, individuals that could use a staircase could cut the corner there, but it is still a longer alignment for cyclists or anyone on like a motorized or an electric scooter.
Thank you. That's extremely helpful.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Excellent presentation. I'll voice that as well. As far as taking the next step on the funding aspect of this, I think that we'll be talking about that in 9.2. But so let me just reserve my comments on funding to come back at that point, because I think but I just have a question about that. So just on the southern route alternative, if you could explain a little more the green line of what that means from enhanced bike lane as to what you're talking about there.
Absolutely. So in the westbound direction of Hamilton Avenue, because of the length of this facility, there is a likelihood that cyclists may not want to cross the street and use the facility. So we wanted to include a redundant facility that was enhanced above the existing condition. In the existing condition, there are no bike lanes whatsoever. Well, in this configuration, because the southern sidewalk is being moved off of the bridge, we would remove the southern sidewalk. There's some additional space on the bridge and on Hamilton Avenue that we're proposing to reallocate that into a bike lane on Hamilton Avenue westbound.
Very good. And then the dashed green component of that, is that going across the entrance ramp? Is that okay?
That is correct. So in conflict zones where you would have vehicles and cyclists crossing, the standard practice is to do a skip stripe dashed green through that area.
Okay, all right. Not sure I'd want to use it on that particular location. Oh, I'll have other comments later. On southern route, is that all on Caltrans property?
Great question. It can be designed either way. So if we wanted to place it on the Fry's property as part of a dedication under future development, that's something that could be achieved. Similarly, if we wanted to retain it entirely on Caltrans property, that could be achieved as well. It would introduce some additional walls. So there's a cost implication, but at this point in the feasibility study, we could go either way with it.
Yeah, I didn't want to imply to try and tie in other projects. I'd like to kind of get it standing by itself. So it sounds like that would be Caltrans property to do it that way.
It would be viable like that, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would likely focus it being Caltrans.
Yeah, okay, all right. And then you mentioned ADA compliance on your others, and just if you could talk to ADA compliance on the southern route alternative.
Absolutely. So under any scenario, we would need to have ADA compliance with our proposed improvements. That would be a maximum longitudinal grade of 5%. In those other alternatives, the profile shown are a lot steeper. They all are compliant, but even a 5% grade can be it can influence cyclist behavior and pedestrian behavior. That generally best practice is for cyclists to feel very little impact on their energy, and their momentum is about 2 to 3%. So that's what we'd like to stay. In the southern route, because it's a longer facility, we can keep it flatter. And so it really feels like a regular road navigating through the city, as opposed to feeling like you're climbing a hill or riding down into a valley.
Very good, thank you. I'll reserve my other comments for comment.
So on the southern route, where you're on the westbound Hamilton Avenue, where the report says that you're removing the south sidewalk, how does that affect pedestrians? Is that prohibited then, or?
Great question. We would direct pedestrians to either the northern sidewalk that would remain or onto the new facility. The addition of the bike lane in the westbound direction requires space on the existing bridge without widening it. So that space we had recommended be reallocated from the existing sidewalk on the south side to a bicycle facility on the north side in this alternative.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor Scazola, did you have any comments you wanted to make, or questions I should say?
Oh, sorry. No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I just have a question. I want to make sure I understood this. So with the southern route, did you say then that the current overcrossing pedestrian bicycle overcrossing, if you want to call it that, would have to be removed?
So on the existing structure, we would be reallocating. Yeah, so on the existing structure, we would be reallocating where those lanes sit. And in this proposal, we are removing the sidewalk on the south side of Hamilton Avenue to add a bike lane on the north side of Hamilton Avenue. So that space, it's roughly the same amount of space, the existing sidewalk, to fit a bike lane. So because the improvements are on the south side, the recommendation was a pedestrian is more likely to cross the street to the north side than a cyclist is. So we had reassigned the space accordingly.
Okay, good. And then, of course, in doing that, it would basically require everyone traveling from west to east to use the new route, even though it's kind of not a straight shot. It would, okay.
Correct, although pedestrian travel on sidewalks is two-way. So a pedestrian could also simply cross to the north side of Hamilton Avenue.
Yes.
Yeah, but we are building this facility. We want to encourage people to use it. The purpose of the project is to create that low stress environment. It is out of direction, and that is a challenge with the project footprint and the trade-offs we are trying to strike.
I understand. It seemed to me that if the sidewalk were retained there on the southern route, you'd have a lot of people not wanting to use the new route because you have to go down and around. And so they just went, I'm just going to walk across the bridge.
It's certainly possible. We would have barricades and other mechanisms to prevent people, and the sidewalk would be removed. So they would be quite literally walking on the roadway. In a future phase, if this was something that was important to council, we could further evaluate the addition of the westbound bike lane versus the removal of the southern sidewalk and weigh those pros and cons in a future phase. It's not something that needs to be set in stone at this time.
Thank you. Okay, yes, Vice Mayor Scazola.
Yeah, sorry, I did actually have one question. I was curious about, obviously, we're going to be pursuing grant funding, but can we do the no build in the meantime? You know, like it seems that that's not too expensive, or I forget if it reported the exact expense, but I believe the report said that it was minimal to at least get a bike lane in there while we pursue the grant funding. So I'd like to know a little bit more about that.
Yeah, great question. Just for clarity, there were 4 alternatives and then a no build. The no build would be the do nothing scenario, but I believe you're referring to the minimalist proposal. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, thank you. Yeah.
Perfect. So yeah, we did estimate that the minimalist would be on the order of, I believe it was $600,000 to $800,000 to perform the works, and included in that work would be essentially removing the northern sidewalk and investing those dollars on converting the southern sidewalk to a wider facility and then enhancements at the intersection. It's certainly something that council could choose to do if they wanted to. I would say that there is likely some throwaway cost associated with that. So we would have to look into what the potential opportunity for reuse versus work that would essentially be replaced if we were to go forward with the southern alternative in a longer term horizon.
And so there's no room. Oh, go ahead, please.
If I may add, it still involves Caltrans.
Mm.
In our initial conversations with them, this is not something that they wouldn't want to accept just because of the safety components and how we're introducing the at-grade crossings.
Yes, thank you. Okay. That is appropriate. Caltrans would have approval authority, and generally they would look for you to do more than the minimalist. Although we could present it as a near-term solution, but we would have to engage Caltrans for approval on that.
And I guess what I'm really asking is what minimal things can we do, that we, in the meantime, as we're pursuing grant funding, like I know that we obviously have a lot of plans for Hamilton in general. So I know at some point we are going to be improving the bike lanes and whatnot. So I just kind of want to have a good picture of, I love that we have this, on the table. And when we have the grant fundings, we can do this. But in the meantime, I'm wondering if we can do anything that's minimal cost that can help people, getting off at the VTA station and just for safety, like in the meantime, before we can actually do a big project like this.
There are a couple of things that we could do. Enhance the crosswalk by making them high visibility, ladder crosswalks. That is something that we approached Caltrans for the loop on ramp. We noted that the Gore area where there used to be channelizers, there's mark off one of the 2 lanes for the loop on ramp that they needed to be replaced. We also asked that they install a high visibility crosswalk and yield markings ahead of the crosswalk. So that's something that can be done in near term, pretty low cost. And
great.
Caltrans would be doing that, not us.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. Thank you. That answers my question.
Right. It's not our facility, it's Caltrans. Same could be done with the southbound on ramp.
Thank you. Now I will ask if there are any members of the public that would like to comment on this matter. And I do have one card, Susan Landry.
Hello again. I think I'm on there. Thank you for the study. This has been a problem that we've had for a long time. You take your life in your hands trying to cross that street there. I'm very concerned about the cost factor though, and how much grant money are you really actually going to get? So this item right now is to accept the feasibility study. The next item is funding and moving forward. I'd like a little bit of clarification on what really would be expected out of pocket from the city. The southern route is what, 10 to 15 million. I doubt you're going to get that whole thing by a grant. You have staff time over what, a couple years, and we still haven't gotten to city hall improvements, the city hall, the community center master plan. And it just seems like it's that this magnitude of project to try to expect to get the whole thing in grants is not realistic. And in the meantime, what other projects is the city not doing because of the limited staff time? And I'll speak on the other item.
Thank you. Does anyone from the staff want to comment on this?
Make sure that there's no other public comments.
Oh, okay. So I'll ask if there are any other comments by members of the public. Nothing online. We have no other comments from the public. Okay.
Yes, as with any grant, I mean, that is true, that it wouldn't be no cost to the city, right? And typically grants, we're looking at local match that we would have to put in there to make it more competitive for us. And that percentage could vary depending on the grant program. Some are 10% local match, some are 25, some are 30%. So definitely there will be a cost from the city. But we're hoping that if we can leverage more grant funding, then it's really the local match component that we would be coming from the city.
Thank you.
I want to make the decision on 2 points. One is the project and the other is the funding. You've got them as two separate discussions, so I'll reserve my comments on funding for that part of the discussion. But as far as the need of going forward with this, I've tried to walk that section and ride my bike that section many times, and it is just a terrifying aspect to get across those two. It doesn't matter which one, both of them are the same way. So I'd really encourage us to be able to move forward with the southern route because that eliminates the need to go across both of those. The high profile pedestrian crossing is, those cars are coming, at 30 miles an hour by the time they get around that. Coming up Hamilton onto Fry's, heading to work or wherever they're going there, and they're not looking for pedestrians. So I really want to emphasize a desire and an interest in the southern alternative, because to me, from a biker that's not a very fast biker, it definitely gives the better option. From my perspective on that, but I want to reserve my comments on funding for the next 9.2.
Oh, yes, Sergio.
Thank you. The study, the report, the presentation, everything was excellent in terms of laying out the alternatives, the pros and cons. I initially had a number of questions, most of which were answered, and then you answered my follow-up. Just in terms of other alternatives that were not presented. And I think it's very important for members of the public to also understand just the physical limitations and constraints that we're dealing with, especially when you add in trying to maximize the bikeability and the experience, which really translates to usability. Are people actually going to use this space? Along with ADA requirements, and again, just the physical constraints with a really complex piece of property with different stakeholders here. So in short, just really bringing an open mind to this and listening through the pros and cons. I'm also in favor of the southern route at this point. This is going to be such a critical piece, so it really is important to get it right. And there's a separate discussion we had around funding and what does that actually look like and are we able to get. But I don't think this is the time to be pennywise and pound foolish, because I literally think this will be one of the most critical segments as we're thinking about the future of Campbell to make sure that as the girls with some of what we planned for, that there really is that access, usability, bikeability, and the access to light rail as well. So in support of that and going forward and exploring, and then seeing from there, starting with what the ideal goal would be, and then having the funding discussion to see what is feasible. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I would also support the southern route. I know we've been talking about this, improving that area for many years, and obviously the funding is a big issue because of the magnitude of the amount of money. But if we move forward with the approval tonight and pursue grant funding, does the project then go into the capital improvement plan as a future project, and as funding becomes available, it's determined to move forward? Is that how, if we were to approve it tonight, what would happen to this project?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because if we get the feasibility study completed, that doesn't necessarily mean that it gets programmed in that CIP, right? Until we have funding. So we would almost be programming it a phase at a time where funding is available. But we have this roadmap to guide us.
Okay, I don't have any, I'm sorry. Yes, Vice Mayor Scazola.
Thank you, Mayor Furtado. I was wondering along the lines of, I agree with Councilmember Lopez's previous comments about this being a really critical piece of infrastructure for Campbell and just, the larger community in general. But thinking around that realm, I was curious which of these options is best for, future when it comes to housing. We're, hoping to have a nice dense housing project eventually at the former Fry's site. So I'm just curious, out of these options, which one would be most conducive for, future housing projects in that area?
I'll try to address that. And I think just for the reasons that were stated before, the southern route's probably the most preferred. And sort of anticipating development along that route, we do anticipate greater pedestrian and bicycle use along that corridor, as Director Ole mentioned earlier. So I think, to answer your question succinctly, it would be the southern route that would be the most preferred.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I would agree with the comments of my colleagues. So there being no further discussion, do we have a motion?
I'd like to propose a motion to acceptance of the final feasibility study for the Hamilton Avenue State Route 17 bicycle overcrossing.
I'll second.
Second. Oh.
You have the motion, a second. I'm sorry.
I'll defer to.
Oh, okay.
I'll defer to Vice Mayor.
Okay, got it. Vice Mayor Scazola. Okay.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Hines.
Aye.
Councilmember Bybee.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Scazola.
Aye.
Mayor Furtado.
Aye. So my understanding now is this matter gets submitted to Caltrans, and hopefully then they make a decision that they feel is best.
That's if we move forward with the PID process. With the next item, if we're submitting to Caltrans, we have to have the level of funding to go in front of them. So that would be the project initiation. Is that
I guess my question is, they have to approve one of the routes first, right?
Right, but we have already initiated conversation, engaged them already. But in order for us to really be serious about the project and get their interest, we do need to follow their process, which first step is the project initiation phase.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, we now move to item 9.2. This is the authorization to submit Measure B Bicycle and Pedestrian Planning Studies Grant application for the Hamilton Avenue Highway 17 overcrossing at the Campbell Technology Parkway.
Good evening, Mayor Furtado, members of the City Council. Last November, the VTA issued a call for projects for the Bicycle and Pedestrian Planning Studies Grant. The program's purpose is to fill gaps in the existing bike and pedestrian network. The program supports leading projects from planning efforts to an actual capital project to construct. And just to note that projects are eligible only if they were included in the original ballot measure from 2016, and that the project we just discussed was, the feasibility was funded in part with Measure B funds from this very same program. So we're proposing grant applications for two projects. The PID phase, or project initiation document, for the Hamilton State Route 17 project, and then also this Campbell Technology Parkway bicycle overcrossing feasibility study. PID documents inform Caltrans regarding the project's scope, costs, potential impacts, schedule. Caltrans just requires PIDs for any project that will be built in the state highway system. The cost estimate is $500,000. The second project is the Campbell Technology Parkway Bicycle Overcrossing Feasibility Study. The scope is very similar to the feasibility study that was performed for the Hamilton project, and the cost estimate is $400,000. This map shows the general location and endpoints of such an overcrossing. On the west side of Highway 17, you see a smaller ellipse. That is the location where there is a walkway from Railway Avenue that connects with the Los Gatos Creek Trail. It's between Avalon Apartments to the south and St. Anton's Apartments and townhomes to the north. The other side of the overcrossing would be somewhere east of Highway 17, closer to Campbell Technology Parkway. The program requires a minimum local match of 10%, but staff is recommending 30% because the grant application process can be very competitive with other agencies competing for funds, and they're likely to propose 30%, and that will maximize the points scored. And potential fund sources for the local match include vehicle impact fee and gas tax funds. So the recommendation is to adopt the resolution authorizing Public Works Director to submit grant applications for both projects. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'm good.
Thank you. Members of the council, any questions?
So my understanding is that the general fund commitment would be $150K for the Hamilton and $120K for the Campbell Tech Park. Is that correct?
The two suggested fund sources.
Yeah. So coming out of the general fund?
Just clarify, when we speak general fund, no, the funding sources would be the vehicle impact fee and gas tax fee. Those aren't general fund fees. Those are restricted funds outside the general fund.
Do we have the money?
Yes, we get money for gas tax and we get vehicle impact fees. The question is what isn't getting funded with those now, because we're putting it towards this, and there are other capital improvements like road improvements or street projects, and Amy could speak to that. But essentially, they are funds that are required and restricted to be spent on these types of things. But by spending on these types of things, you're probably not spending on other things like this.
Can we get
but it is outside the general
Can we
fund.
get an understanding as to what would not be funded?
I don't think I can answer that specifically on what will not get funded, because on the vehicle impact fees, we look to that fund to support if we have additional needs in our street repair that perhaps is not part of our annual street maintenance funding. And we leverage that fund for other things that come up that this gas tax cannot fund, that annual street maintenance cannot. So we have used vehicle impact fees in the past to help us with some crack seal projects, for example.
Okay, well, I am very excited about the Campbell Tech Park. So just, Campbell Village has been taxed and trapped forever. So I guess more a comment that I'm making, but I think that's just fantastic to be able to see that in here, to get the feasibility of that. I would, and I'd just like to see if it's possible to consider the bike path from Campbell Tech Park to Campbell Avenue, paralleling just to the outside of the west side of Highway 17 retaining wall. Maybe it adds another 100 yards to get to the light rail, but which should be substantially cheaper. And meaning it still be in Caltrans property. I can't imagine Caltrans built the retaining wall exactly on their property line. So I'm hoping that there's 3 or 4 feet for a bike trail. So I don't know if that can be included in there, but I think that's some consideration that I would like to see.
Okay.
Other comments? Okay. We'll now invite any members of the public that would like to speak on this matter.
Technology Park, definitely, we need a bridge, get us across the freeway. I'm gonna go back to what I said earlier. We've had a history of getting grants and then not being able to do matching funds. And Terry's comment, what else doesn't get done? And Terry came to a meeting in our neighborhood last week or so, and our biggest thing is traffic calming. So we would certainly love to see more money thrown into traffic calming and be able to do something. And that's a project that doesn't get funded when things like this gets funded. And I'm just concerned we keep doing feasibility studies and things like that, and then you don't have $5 million to match to meet the grant. And I know there has been a couple grants that we've gotten the money but lost it because we couldn't do the matching. We need work in City Hall, we need work at the community center. This distracts staff from what they need to do on other things. So just a word of caution on what we're doing, and 100, 500 or whatever we're putting in doesn't seem like a lot now, but does it just sit on the shelf later because you don't have 5-10 million to build them out?
Thank you. Any other members of the public wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring this matter then back to the council for further discussion. Sergio?
Yeah, I'll just, I just want to say I fully propose this going forward, as well as making sure that our application is competitive. So I do support going to 30%. This is another one of those projects that, as Councilor Hines says, is just absolutely critical. And I think not just for this area, but for really growing the future of our community. And it's going to be complex to get there. We're going to need those partnerships and outside sources of funding. So I do support looking at this to make sure that we do so in a thoughtful, considered way.
Thank you. I'll make a comment myself regarding this. I'm glad to see that there's an interest in a pedestrian bicycle crossing there at Campbell Technology Parkway. You know, the area still is pretty much of an industrial area in the surrounding area. So, you know, they're putting in a lot of pedestrian and bicycle traffic, which will come with the new housing development. I think will impact that area in a negative way in terms of a lot of people having to use surface streets to go around instead of a convenient bike and pedestrian overcrossing. And so I think in the long run, I would very much like to see this overcrossing there at the Technology Parkway.
Just to add on to that, Mayor, it's not only that industrial area, but it's also Camp Village that can use this. And that's the trapped part, that there's really no way to bike out of that area. And so this would give an opportunity to be able to bike out of that area more effectively.
Thank you. Could I have a motion then if you're ready for that?
I propose a motion to authorization to submit 2016 Measure B Bicycle and Pedestrian Planning Studies Grant Application for Hamilton Avenue Highway 17 Bicycle Overcrossing Project Initiation Document and Campbell Technology Parkway Bicycle Overcrossing Feasibility Study.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Hines.
Aye.
Councilmember Bybee.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Scazola.
Aye.
Mayor Furtado.
Aye.
Thank you very much. I want to waive my usual report to just make a few personal comments with the Super Bowl coming this today. And as I shared before, a number of agencies I'm involved with, VTA being one of them, have been very involved with preparing, just making sure everyone can be safe. But along with that, I know I've heard from many people in our community feeling a lot of anxiety and concern around potential immigration actions. And in the past week, we've seen reassurances that those actions won't be taking place. But still, there is that the sense of fear of fear and anxiety that I'm hearing from our residents. So I really just wanted to reaffirm my own commitment and what I've heard clearly as our community's values, including from police and conversations that I've had, that we follow state law in not cooperating on immigration enforcement actions, and we'll continue to do so in that. Really just want to reaffirm that this is a welcoming community for all. So I appreciate my colleagues, our staff who share those values, but this is a time when we're seeing a lot of fear, unfortunately, misinformation. So I did just feel it was important to say a few words to that. Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely want to second Councilmember Lopez's comments associated with that fear and concern. So very much appreciate that comments. Just the committee activities that I've been involved in, partners in local governance. It's a Cal ICMA and Cal City Managers meeting that I am on and participated on. It was an excellent discussion about staff and electeds, combination of working together. I did the Chamber Board of Directors swearing in, and that was fantastic to see the new board. I went to the Cal City's Housing, Community, and Economic Development Committee and Policy Committee. Had some good discussions there. My continued emphasis to coordinate and work with San Jose. I went to Pam Foley's D9 2026 priorities discussion. It was quite helpful for that. So Silicon Valley Water, AFL-CIO, AI, and Tech Brief was really good because of just discussion around the impact on labor for that. And then the Legislative Spotlight Association that emceed by Sergio and Councilmember Sergio was excellent to be able to see that. And then the CVNA meeting and being able to, chaired by Susan, at the local Santa Clara County Fire and Union. I gave an ADA and conservation update, but we got a lot of feedback about traffic calming that I'll be bringing to the work plan discussion. Then I want to do a shout out to Reps, our local printing company right downtown, and they do a terrific job and made our Christmas card several times just if they could make me look 20 years younger. They don't seem to be able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Reps does do a very good job, and they do all the printing for the Campbell Veterans Memorial Foundation as well. So Councilmember Bybee.
So I attended the Cities Association meeting last month, and we talked about priorities for the year, and we'll be finalizing those at our meeting in February.
Vice Mayor Scazola.
No report at this time. Thank you.
And I'll simply report that I recently had the opportunity to attend the U.S. Conference of Mayors meeting in Washington, D.C. It was a very good meeting. It's very cold in Washington, D.C., needless to say. It's interesting. The problems that cities have are shared by most cities in the country. Affordable housing certainly was a big topic of discussion. Senator Elizabeth Warren was present, and she spoke about a housing measure that provided for affordable housing that passed the Senate 100%. And that almost never happens, especially in this era. And now it has gone to the House, although it's hung up in the House. And there's a reluctance to bring it up right now by the majority in the House for reasons I don't understand. But anyway, it would be a very well funded program for affordable housing. Cities are also concerned about infrastructure. They continue to focus on jobs, but by far the largest part of the discussion dealt with immigration and the concern that city mayors have and city staffs about the current situation in the country on immigration and the tactics of ICE. There was a special presentation by Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry, who came in especially just to make a presentation to the mayors. He did a very, very nice job and summarized many of the issues very well. So I'm sure I'm not surprising anyone with these comments about immigration, but it's certainly captivating a good part of the time of city mayors throughout the United States. That is my report. I thank everyone for attending and comments that were made tonight. And with that, I will adjourn the meeting.